And good afternoon, everyone. You know me as Cyrus Alderwood from Twitter and Facebook. I'm author of Pot of Gold, a comedy book, another comedy that I've recently put out in paperback and Kindle called A Man Called Doosh. Interesting little book there. Yet again, another comedy. And a collection of short stories. It's in the horror genre called Bedtime Stories for the Terminally Afraid. A bit of a long title, but at the time couldn't think of anything else. And I'm actually not the best person to come up with titles as it is. However, wanted to kind of just kind of playing around today with a program here on my computer called Cyberlink UCAM. And it's got some really interesting kind of features. As you can see, I'm talking on a big billboard in the middle of the city. Pretty cool, but I'm learning, so give me some time here. What I wanted to talk about quickly was a book that I have coming out pretty soon called Tales from the Sunset Pub. It's a multi-genre collection of short stories. Some of them, I kind of dabble in the comedy. I'm a multi-genre writer. Some of them are comedy. Some of them are a little more dramatic and kind of a little edgy, a little taboo. Nothing in the horror genre per se in this one, although there's a couple that kind of borderline it. One of the short stories in the book is called The Ballad of Carter Ford, and it's about an older gentleman who frequents the Sunset Pub. I kind of loosely based it off of a guy I knew at the Sunset Pub in Cincinnati, Ohio, years ago, and it's a short story about a guy who comes in on Halloween. Kind of forgets it's Halloween, but he shows up and there's a big kind of to-do in the bar. So he's going to have his usual couple drinks, head home to his wife. As he goes to check out his tab, the bartender at the time, Katie, who I base off of another person I know from the pub, she asked him, "Hey, Carter, everybody's telling me a scary story tonight, all these urban legends. Whoever tells me the best creepy story will get a free drink. Do you have any stories you want to tell?" And Carter begins to tell a story about what happened to him in Khe Sanh, back in Vietnam. The story, I won't get into the details of the story. It's a pretty harrowing story, and it's actually based off of a letter, a true story. I read, I can't remember if it was Rolling Stone or it was another publication. It was back years and years ago, but probably over a decade old. The article, but a guy who had, I guess he was 19, went to Vietnam. He was a Marine, and then I think he got sent to Khe Sanh. Anyway, he would write letters back home, and he wrote a letter to his cousin stating that he had 2 weeks and he was coming home. And he was looking forward to meeting him in New York City so they could go out, have a few drinks, have some fun, try to get the war behind him, basically. He didn't want to get into details, but he said that something terrible had happened to him while he was in Vietnam. And he wanted to talk about it, just to kind of get it off his chest and then move on. However, the letter got there. The cousin was excited to see him, but the gentleman, I think a day before he was to ship out, actually got killed. So he never actually made it home to talk about his story. But his story actually took place in the tunnels, in Vietnam. So it's a pretty scary story. So I sort of loosely based it off of reading that true story of a guy who wrote a letter home and never made it home. So that's one short story. There's a collection of quite a few in there. Some of them are funny. Again, it's a fictional book, so all my friends at the Sunset Pub, with the exception of Doug, I'm not changing your name, pal. You're just screwed. But anyway, it's a funny book. Hopefully you guys will pick it up. It should be out in a few weeks. We'll have it in paperback and Kindle. And it's under a new publishing company called Anarchy Creations, Inc. That myself and another friend who's a writer founded, and he's going to have one of his books that he'd written years ago coming out called Sacred Cows. Really edgy writer. So we're looking to, we're trying to kind of dance around the edges a little bit, put some creative stuff out there, kind of things that maybe you haven't read before, or kind of a new spin on something old. I know in Bedtime Stories for the Terminally Afraid, I took on a classic vampire story and a zombie story, but it's like nothing you've really ever read before, especially the vampire story. It's called Game, Set, Match. So maybe you'll get a chance to pick that up. So, also visit my website, cyrusalderwood.com. I do sometimes put up some free samples of things I've written on there. I've got another short story compilation in the horror genre I'm working on too that should maybe come out a little late this year. Don't have a working title on it yet, but I've got a couple more short stories I'm writing for it, and should be finished with that, and can go through the editing and rewriting and so forth. So I'm kind of doing a different spin or a different approach to the publication over the last couple of years that I've done previously. I've written under a different name, but we're kind of taking a little more seriously the editing portion, the rewriting portion, and trying to put out stories that people are truly going to enjoy. So if you get an opportunity, check out either Pot of Gold or A Man Called Doosh if you're looking for a good laugh. Or if you're into the horror genre, check out Bedtime Stories for the Terminally Afraid. I'll have a whole lot more coming out here in the next few years. I've got countless ideas. Probably have more half-written books than I have friends, sadly enough. But take an opportunity, check it out, CyrusAlderwood.com, or look for me on Amazon.com, and let me know what you think. I hope you like the books. Thanks, and have a great day.